In this question, you're being asked to analyze the characteristics of the function y equals 5x squared minus 20x plus 11. This equation is written in general form. So let's get started. First, we're asked whether it's an expansion or a compression. And because our a value is positive 5, we know that this is an expansion. Next, our a value is positive, and therefore this graph opens upwards. Now for the vertex. Well, this equation is written in general form, which does not help us determine the vertex. So we need to complete the square and put it into vertex form. So our steps for completing the square are first to isolate our variables by moving that positive 11 to the outside of the brackets. Then we need to factor off the positive 5. When we factor off the positive 5 inside the brackets, we're left with x squared minus 4x. Next, we need to create our perfect square trinomial. So we take half of that negative 4, which gives us negative 2, and then we square it. So we get positive 4. So we're going to add inside the brackets a positive 4 and a negative 4. Now creating our perfect square trinomial, we need to get rid of that negative 4. So negative 4 times the positive 5 out in front gives us negative 20. We're going to put a negative 20 on the outside of the brackets. And lastly, we're going to create our perfect square binomial. So 5 times x minus 2 all squared, which comes from the x squared minus 4x plus 4. And our constant terms on the outside, negative 20 and positive 11, add to negative 9. So our vertex is given by our p and q values listed there. We can see that our vertex is going to be a positive 2 and negative 9. Now for the domain. The domain of any parabola opening up or down is going to be the set of all real numbers. The range of this function is that y must be greater than or equal to that lowest possible point. So y must be greater than or equal to negative 9. The axis of symmetry is always through the x value of the vertex, so x equals positive 2. This graph will have two x-intercepts, because our vertex is below the x-axis and it opens upwards. Our y-intercept is going to be the c value as it occurs when x equals 0. 5 times 0 squared minus 20 times 0, those both equal 0, so we end up with y equals 11. And lastly, we have a minimum value because this graph opens upwards and it occurs at the lowest possible point, when y equals negative 9.